The best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed, on a Monday, and great to have you with us all across America and Canada, and wherever you might be watching and consuming this show, whether it be through our YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. We appreciate you watching. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes, as there is every day. We'll be joined by Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, talk about the news from the NFL this weekend with Carr deciding to hang it up after 11 seasons in the NFL. We'll get into that and some other NFL items, but we start things out in the NBA, and the playoffs are hot and heavy. Our friend Sam Yarnell hangs out with us on the show each and every day, except Friday this week. He's taking Friday off, which means something very cool. Robert Littal is actually going to co-host the show with me on Friday, hang out with us for the program, which will be fun. All right, Sam. Yes. You already have something to say? Yes.
I was going to say, and something even cooler, up to something season, all things go right, we'll have Studio S3 coming to you live next week. Wow. We'll be on our third edition of the studio since we started doing this show together, Jason.
Sam's moving. There we go. All right, let's talk about the NBA, because there was a whole bunch of stuff that went on this weekend, and obviously we start with the Thunder and Nuggets, which is one of the more intriguing series still going on. Look, the Thunder are going to get taken out into the deep water in this series. We knew it. And we continue to see it in this series. Despite the result yesterday, this thing's going to go deep. I wouldn't be shocked at all if it winds up going 7 at this point, which isn't a bold prediction considering it's 2-2 through 4 games, Sam. And it's all of these series, for the lesser seeds to win, they're going to have to muck it up. They're going to have to be ugly. There are not going to be any ugly series wins for any team. If the Celtics beat the Knicks in 6 or 7 or whatever it is, it's going to be ugly. If the Thunder beat the Nuggets in 7, it's going to be ugly. All of these series are going to be ugly because they're physical, they're knockdown, drag-out affairs, and that's sort of what you're getting in this NBA playoffs. This 2025 version of the NBA playoffs. So I'm not going to knock teams for if they don't go, 16-2 in these NBA playoffs or 16-4 in these NBA playoffs, because it's just not going to be easy this year.
Yeah, it's not, but I will say one series that may be just painfully easy in this second round is Pacers-Cavs. We'll get to that in a second, because that looks like belt to behind central, if you know what I'm saying. Thunder Nuggets. Listen, every time I watch Nikola Jokic play basketball, I am astounded at how freakishly good that guy is at the sport. Like, it's crazy how when it's all said and done in like 7 years or whatever, a long time down the line, not saying this is any time soon at all, especially with that guy's track record of not getting injured. But we're going to look back on that guy as a top 3 center of all time, and I'm being very conservative with that estimation because he's probably a top 10 player of all time, maybe already. This guy is absolutely insane, and he's so good, and even when he's so good, his team can't rally around him, Jason, and it's so frustrating. But there is just a new fire in this Nuggets team. And I know they lost on Sunday, but even in that game, holding the Thunder to 92 points, coming out with the defensive showing that they did, and granted the offense, they punched themselves in the mouth in the first quarter offensively, but the Nuggets have done a great job rallying around each other in an era where I think a lot of people, especially in the media, decided to just write them off after the Michael Malone firing. They've done a great job rallying around each other. And like you said, this series is going to be a good win for whoever wins it and a tough loss for whoever loses it. And the Nuggets really did a lot to deserve that. Look, I'm really impressed with what they've done.
They have beaten the crap out of Jokic in this series physically. And they've gotten away with a lot. And look, one of the things you've noticed in these playoffs is the star players have been bodied a lot more than they are during the regular season, and it's taken a toll. Jokic, the last 3 games, is 14, 21. He is 21 for 41, 63. He's 21 for 63 from the field in his last 3 games. I mean, that's stunning. 21 for 63 shooting. And 6 for 22 from 3. 6 for 22 from 3. Now, he's still grabbing rebounds. He's still dishing out a few assists here and there. And the stat line at the end of the night looks nice. But he is getting beat up in this series in a big way. That series is going to go deep. As you mentioned, the series that may not go so deep is the one between the Cavaliers and the Pacers. Look, the Cavaliers just look like a beaten team right now. I don't know how you can come in. The thing that I find inexplicable, look, I get the Garland injury taking its toll and Mitchell not coming out for the second half when you're already down by 40. What I find inexplicable is how you come out for a must-win game 3, down 2-1 in that series, and look completely uninterested, disinterested in putting out your best effort in that game. That's what's and that goes to coaching, that goes to leadership. That's the part to me that I can't wrap my head around, Sam. How that happens. And I know that's one of those things that you can't measure in a stat line and things like that. I can't wrap my head around that, Sam.
Well, what I'll say about the Cavaliers in this playoffs is this. It does feel like it's been kind of destined for them to fail. And it's not because of anything they've done to themselves. It's simply because of injuries. I mean, you go into the second round and the 3 of your biggest players, arguably your 3 biggest players, miss the first 2 games, or missed the second game. 2 of them missed the first game. Like, they have been a man down basically this entire playoffs, Jason. So, you know, I'm not going to fault anything against the Cavs. I do think Gilbert Arenas was talking in the media last week and put it best. When you look at the NBA playoffs, every team that has success needs a guy who's going to get the ball in the last 2 minutes when you're down 4, down 10, or whatever the case may be, and is a guaranteed bucket. It feels like the Cavs don't have that clutch time scorer to that extent. I know Donovan Mitchell's great. I know Darius Garland is great. But all that said, I don't know if the Cavs have what it takes, especially right now. I will say this real quick. The Pacers should never, ever, ever wear those jerseys in the playoffs again.
It was like 82-39 or 84-39 at one point. They had the live in-game line on FanDuel during the broadcast at one point. It was 36.5. By the way, hope you took the 36.5. If you did, you made out like a bandit. We're coming back with more Sports Wrap and more NBA next. Coming up in 10 minutes, Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, KOA Radio in Denver. Get his thoughts on the retirement of Derek Carr. Also, some thoughts on... Well, he's in Denver, so we got to ask him about the Nuggets. See what he has to say about that. He called runs in baseball points in a TikTok post, so I won't ask him about Bud Black getting fired. I can't do that. Sammy Arnell, let's continue the conversation as it relates to the NBA playoffs this weekend. It's a true story, by the way. So let's talk about the NBA playoffs. And look, as much as... I'd like to be upset that the Knicks got blown out by the Celtics on Saturday. I'm not shocked the Knicks got blown out by the Celtics on Saturday. I was the one trying to speak reason on this show as a Knicks fan after the first 2 games of this series. I told you that the formula for the Knicks was not what we saw in the first 2 games. And the simple fact of the matter, Sam, is the Knicks played in Game 3 the way they've played in the first 2 games. The fact of the matter is the Celtics played for Game 3 the way they played throughout the first 2.5 quarters of Games 1 and 2. They just played 4 quarters of basketball in Game 3, which is why they won going away. The saving grace for the Knicks, though, if there is one, they're actually up in the series 2-1. I know the odds makers haven't really set the lines to show that the Knicks are up 2-1 in the series, but... The Knicks are up 2-1 in the series, and they have not had a signature moment in this series. They have not had a game that shows they were one of the most prolific offenses in the NBA during the regular season. So if there is a saving grace for the Knicks, it is maybe one of those games is coming. The Celtics play a absolutely vicious brand of defense, which combined with the fact that officials are allowing for much more contact during this postseason is making it difficult on guys like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, who literally are throwing their hands up after every shot they throw up at the rim. Is going to make it difficult for the Knicks to have one of those big offensive games. Most of these games are being contested in the 90s and low 100s, when during the regular season, most games were in the 1-teens and around 120. I could still make an argument the Knicks have one of those games to get them a third game in this series and push it to 7, Sam.
So on the thing about the key moment, and I don't remember it. Oh yeah. The closest thing I think the Knicks have had is actually, funny enough, the closest thing they've had to an offensive key playoff moment is a defensive key playoff moment. It was when Josh Hart in game 1 of this series made that 3, and then they came down and was it Mikal Bridges who swatted the ball out of Jason Tatum's hands when he was trying to pass it to Jaylen Brown?
Yeah, it was game 2. Game 2.
Oh, wasn't the overtime game? Anyway, regardless. Yes. The overtime game was when Josh Hart hit the dagger 3. Yes. Josh Hart, man, that guy's clutch
he's
city.
Awesome. I love him.
But so, yes, you and I both predicted on this very show that the Celtics would mollywop the Knicks in game 3. And that's exactly what we got. You know, the game really was over like 14 game minutes in. Although when the Knicks were down 20, you'll be proud of me, Jason Page. I bet the Knicks money line thinking, hey, I've seen this movie before. Maybe it'll work out like the first 2 times. Yeah, well, burned that money. Listen, I think it's absolutely hilarious, to Jason's point, that the Knicks are up 2-1 in the series and plus 265 on the series money line to win the series. It's crazy. And Jason's right. They haven't had that offensive standout performance that we all know is coming from Jalen Brunson at least once. Even if the game doesn't mean anything, or even if the points don't mean anything, the performance is coming. I think we can all accept that. What the linchpin is, to me, is the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I know they played better in game 3. Let's not pretend they're having a good series. These are 2 guys who are struggling offensively to get this Celtics team going. And you look at that game Saturday, game 3, it was a lot of the auxiliary pieces, right? It was a lot of Derek White. It was a lot of Peyton Pritchard. Kristaps Porzingis actually looked like he was feeling better for once, which hasn't been the case for him in a month. So the Celtics really got to get their stars going if they want to be the NBA Finals favorites or Eastern Conference favorites that they're reflected as in the sports book.
Pacers will push them if that indeed is the Eastern Conference Final. Real quick, the Warriors played exactly the game that they had to play in game 3 in order to beat the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves just figured out a way to survive that game. And look, the Warriors could still find a way to get one of these games to push this to a game 6 where you potentially get back a Stephen Curry. We'll see what happens in that series on Monday night. Sam, there was big news on Monday morning coming out of Milwaukee, which means the good land. And that is the news that Giannis Antetokounmpo is open to being traded or moved out of Milwaukee. Now, a lot of this has to do with how the draft lottery plays out, which we'll see what happens, obviously, on Monday night. With that, we'll have a full recap on Tuesday's show and the Cooper Flag sweepstakes and all of that. But look, if you are Milwaukee and Giannis is open to being moved, you have to move him. This run is over. The window has closed. If you have the opportunity to move him, get back a bunch of draft picks, get a haul of players in here, and still be somewhat competitive, because remember, you're playing in a nice new arena, the arena that Giannis essentially built. I think you have to, in an Eastern Conference where, what would 34 wins make the playoffs this year? I mean, yeah, but you could still be a playoff team. And still, you can. I'm sorry, you can.
With no Dame, that's the whole problem with this team. That, to me, was the moment that Giannis decided, all right, this has been fun, it's time to go, was when Dame tore his Achilles and you realized he's going to miss all of next season, too.
I don't know if all of next season. I don't think it'll be all of next season.
The Bucks are going to have to play for the draft next year. It's as simple as that. They're going to have to get one of the Boozer twins or AJ Dybonsa, and that's not a bad outcome from all this. But here's the thing. The Giannis situation, if they didn't win that one championship, we're looking at an all-time bad sellout in terms of the Milwaukee Bucks.
But they got one. They got one. So you know what? And if I had told you as a Bucks fan 10 years ago or 7 years ago, whatever it was, that you could get one championship with Giannis, and then you were going to have to suck, a few years later and go through this process, you would have said yes. Right now, you're not going to like it. You're going to have to eat your peas. You're going to have to eat your carrots. You're going to have to eat your strained corn. But you know what? You got your championship. Now you're going to have to suck for a couple of years. That's what happens. Got to pay the piper. Nick Ferguson's going to join us next. Welcome back to this Monday edition of the show. One of the big stories of the weekend broke in the NFL. Derek Carr, now former NFL quarterback, retiring after 11 seasons in the league, played most of his career with the Oakland/Las Vegas Raiders, played his last couple of seasons in New Orleans with the Saints. Let's talk about it and some other NFL items with our good friend, Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, hangs out with us on the show. KOA Radio in Denver as well. And Nick, how surprised were you? I know, look, we found out in March he had this labral tear that he was dealing with. There was talk of surgery. How surprised were you at the news that Derek Carr decided to hang it up?
I was surprised because I thought, well, he'll be able to push back through this injury because he's had massive injuries through his career, and he did a great job of pushing back through them. But sometimes, man, some of these injuries are hard to overcome. And just think about when we found out, right? We went through free agency. We didn't know. And it was like right during the draft process that we found out, oh, by the way, there's this labrum tear. And it's like, wait a minute. Why didn't this come out early in the process? And when you look at how the Raiders navigated the draft, I thought, okay, now they're going to really try to, use their picks to take a quarterback early, but they waited. And, the Saints, the Saints waited, and they got Tyler Shuck. And the funny thing about Tyler Shuck is he's 25. He's played at Texas Tech, Louisville, and Oregon. And he used to back up Justin Herbert, who's in his 5th year in the league. And that's crazy. That is going to be one of the two quarterbacks who I guess Kellen Moore is going to roll out there because you have Spencer Rattler. And you're thinking because, maybe Spencer Rattler with his experience in the league, maybe he may be the elder statesman in the room. But this was kind of crazy. And I know how this is. You find out you injured, then you go through the rehab process, and the doctor's telling you no matter what you do, you're not going to be the same person. And looking at Derek Carr's career, I would dare to say, and when you and I had this conversation a little yesterday, JP, I mean, that's kind of a Hall of Fame career that he's had based on the stats that he actually put up. If you're really looking at stats, because that's a part of, does a quarterback get into the Hall of Fame or not? Great statistical career for one Derek Carr.
You stole my thunder a little bit. I was going to ask you, do you think if he gets, and this is part of the conversation when we talk about the legacy of Derek Carr, and I think a conversation that is, you could expand out much larger, and it is this: where you're born. Some guys are born on first base, some guys are born on third base. If you get drafted by the right organization, everything's sunshine and roses. If you get drafted by the Raiders, sorry to say this, sometimes things can be a lot tougher. If you get drafted by the Browns, sometimes things can be a lot tougher. If he got drafted by the right organization, you're talking about a guy statistically that could have had a Hall of Fame career, Nick.
Well, wait a minute, JP. You go back to the 2016 season. 28 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in the Raiders uniform. They got to the playoffs. He had that fibular injury, and that's when the Texans played against the Raiders, or the Raiders were on the road against the Texans. And guess who was the quarterback? Brock Osweiler for the Houston Texans and Connor Cook for the Raiders, right? So in 2016, if Derek Carr doesn't get injured, now we'll sit here to wonder, well, what could things have become for Derek Carr and the Raiders? But statistically, looking at his career, amazing 11-year career.
Sam, you just had your driver's permit. There you go.
Yeah, no kidding. That's actually true. Nick, I wanted to ask you, though, about the Saints and kind of where they go from here, because you look at this roster, right? Quarterback room is obviously a mess. Jake Haener, Spencer Rattler, we saw them both last year. I think we can both safely say they're not long-term NFL starters. Tyler Shuck can't go that far. Haven't seen the kid yet, obviously. But look at the weapons in this offense. Still got Alvin Kamara. I know Olave has had the injuries and the concussion issues, but he's still there. He's still under contract. Rashid Shaheed looked incredible in spurts last year, right? They've got Brandon Cooks in the later portions of his career. Jawan Johnson is a serviceable tight end. This is a team that still has pieces. Do you see them going out and getting one of these quarterbacks who we still find ourselves talking about so frequently in an Aaron Rodgers, in a Kirk Cousins, and trying to compete in a division that we know is infamously very, very weak?
Well, they're going to try to figure out their quarterback position. And yes, could they go out and get a veteran quarterback? Absolutely. Kirk Cousins? No. Aaron Rodgers? No. Because those two quarterbacks are like Jurassic Park. It's a dying breed. That breed does not exist in the NFL anymore. Your quarterback needs to be mobile. And I'll toss this out to you guys, right? As Sam was going through this, I was thinking in my head, I was like, who has a better quarterback room right now? The Saints or the Cleveland Browns? And as crazy as it sounds, I'm going to say the damn Cleveland Browns right now, because they have guys actually played and have done well even in the short stint of playing. So the Cleveland Browns have a better, scenario as far as the quarterback room. But I'll say this, though. You list out all those players that the Saints have. To me, not in that division. Right now, that division, as it's currently constructed, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to lose.
Go ahead, Sam.
2 Super Bowl rings in the Browns quarterback room. 2 Super Bowl rings in that quarterback room in Cleveland.
Yeah, what's in the Saints room? Even Kellen Moore, as a backup quarterback, has none. Yeah. So I'm just saying.
Yeah. An ACC regular season championship at Louisville. Oh, no, wait, they didn't even win that.
See? Tyler Shook, the 25-year-old quarterback, he is now the guy that the franchise and Kellen Moore has hitched his wagon to.
Well, aren't you sucking for Archie Manning?
Come on, man. Let's stop with the Archie Manning
talk.
But
I mean, aren't you essentially though?
After next season?
But I mean, essentially,
is he going to be in the next draft?
But haven't you just basically told your fan base that's kind of what you're doing this year?
No,
that you get ready.
So here's what you guys are missing, right?
What am I missing?
Let's rewind the time capsule.
All right.
Right. So you're talking about Arch Manning potentially going to the Saints. It sounds like a great story.
Yes.
But remember Archie Manning and what he did to the Giants when he told the Chargers, you know what? Eli's not coming there because I know your organization sucks. And you got to think about it. Arch Manning played his career with the Saints. He know what it did to him, beat him up. So why would I allow my grandson to go to an organization that I play for?
And doesn't this bring this whole conversation full circle with, if Derek Carr had said, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to play for the Raiders. I'm going to go play somewhere else. Like Eli Manning did with the Chargers. If Eli Manning goes and plays his career with the Chargers instead of the Giants, is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer?
No. I mean, even now that, Eli played his career with the Giants.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer.
We still can debate that.
All right. We can debate it. We've got another segment. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. One more segment with Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, hanging out with us from KOA Radio in Denver. I mean, he's not at KOA Radio in Denver right now. He's in a room with a couple of football helmets, some pictures. Sam gets very excited when he sees the Buffalo Bills helmet, though. You should have seen when Nick's face popped up on the screen and it had a Buffalo Bills helmet up there, man. Whew. Sam actually has a question about George Pickens, so go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, Nick, obviously, we got the news last week, I guess now, that George Pickens is being traded to the Dallas Cowboys. And my question is twofold for you. One, as somebody who's been in an NFL locker room and seen, how do I put this nicely, all of the distractions that there are to professional athletes, both on the field and off, how do you think George Pickens will fare in a city like Dallas without the regime of Mike Tomlin around him? And the second part is, as a former safety who had to defend some great wide receiver duos, what do you make of the duo of CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens on the other side?
Well, you know what? This is a great environment for George Pickens. And sometimes, you know, what happens with a lot of players, you don't leave the game the way you want to, and sometimes you get traded. In the case of George Pickens, it just kind of revitalized his career because now he's going to be pissed off that the Pittsburgh Steelers decided they're going to trade him. You bring off DK Metcalf, and I know George Pickens probably thinking like, oh, man, I'm about to eat now. And now he's in a whole different environment. So for a guy like Dak Prescott, who his only receiver seemed to be CeeDee Lamb, now he gets another weapon. And it's going to be great to see George Pickens with a star on the side of his helmet. And when you look at those two guys, CeeDee Lamb, you can move him around. I mean, he can play slot, he can run a short intermediate route. And you get Pickens, who is that outside vertical threat. When you talk about 50-50 balls, that's that guy. So now defensive coordinators, where they could isolate and eliminate, you know, a guy like CeeDee Lamb, now you can't really do that right now. And this should be an extraordinary year for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. But they're still not going to beat the Washington Commanders. I'm still going to put that out there.
Can we go back to that Steelers situation and back to Aaron Rodgers for just 1 second though, because we were talking about this when this news came down last week. If you're Aaron Rodgers, and I know DK Metcalf is still there and Pat Freiermuth is still there, I there's a part of me that wonders, and everybody keeps saying he's going to wind up in Pittsburgh. If he's going to wind up in Pittsburgh, one, why hasn't it happened yet? And is the reason it hasn't happened yet, is there a chance he just waits and says, hey, I'm going to wait to see if a quarterback gets hurt during training camp or preseason or early in the season and wait to sign somewhere rather than going and having to lock myself into a Steelers situation where I know that, all right, maybe they're a 9-win team, a 10-win team with me there, but they don't have a chance to win a Super Bowl, as opposed to waiting to see if a star quarterback goes down on a good team and I have a chance to maybe win something bigger?
You know what? The way to describe this situation with Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers is failure to launch. And I don't understand why the Pittsburgh Steelers are waiting for Aaron Rodgers to make a move. We've all seen this movie before.
Well, because it's that or Mason Rudolph. That's why they're waiting.
Well, the idea is that, they could have done something in the draft to kind of change their quarterback room, but they didn't. The reason they didn't do it because of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has done this before. He did it to the Packers twice. He did it to the Jets. He did it to the damn Denver Broncos, right? So now he's used to doing this. He's used to kind of writing his own check. Just hold on, wait for me. When I'm ready, I'll let you know. To me, that's not a great metaphor or a great idea to kind of present to your fan base if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're talking about a story franchise, right? Constantly in the playoffs. Only 3 head coaches in their franchise history. They're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is doing just what you say, JP. He is waiting to see what happens in training camp. Someone gets injured. Now he can insert himself because he's trying to cement his legacy. He doesn't want to go out with everyone remembering what happened with the New York Jets. He's trying to get to Minnesota. And the way I looked at it, regardless of what he says or anyone thinks, it's almost like he's following the path of Brett Favre.
But Nick, none of the options that Pittsburgh had via the draft, none of them are still as good as Aaron Rodgers. No matter what we think of Aaron Rodgers at this stage in his career, nothing they were going to put on the field this year is as good as Aaron Rodgers.
See, it's that type of mindset that allows Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, but it's the truth. But it's the truth.
But you have to move on. You have to make a choice. You just can't say, well, we're going to let this one guy hold our franchise for ransom. You can't do that. You have to do it. And knowing as though you already know what Mason Rudolph is. He was in the building before, You pushed him out, and then you bring him back, right? So the Pittsburgh Steelers need to make a decision where they're going long-term, because let's be totally honest about the situation. I mean, when you think about Aaron Rodgers, man, he's just a stopgap.
Yes.
I mean, he's just a bridge player. That's all he is. Yep. So, I mean, let's bring in Aaron Rodgers. We're going to get back to the playoffs. Have you seen the AFC?
Yep.
As far as quarterbacks are concerned? Good luck with that.
Sam, we only got 60 seconds. Do you have anything else? Otherwise, I'm going to ask him a Nuggets question here. We're going to produce here.
Yeah, go ahead with the Nuggets.
All right, here we go.
Kirk Cousins isn't.
There you go. All right, Sam, I'm gonna end it here and ask you, being in Denver, the belly of the beast, Nuggets. It's a best of 3 now. Nuggets and Thunder. Who wins?
I'm going to go with Thunder.
Wow.
The Thunder, they have already shown, okay, well, they are a very talented team. And you look at how Nikola Jokic has shot in this series, especially last game.
Terrible. Last 3 games.
Terrible. He's struggling. And they're doing a great job on him defensively. And the Nuggets' philosophy is, hey, we're an experienced veteran team. Let's keep it close, and maybe we'll let our experience win. I mean, OKC say no. I mean, we got, Hartenstein, and they got the other guy.
Holmgren, yeah.
Holmgren. So we're going to keep throwing those tall guys at you and make it difficult for you.
Yeah, they've been banging around. Been a physical. You should love it as a football guy. It's been a physical postseason. You love lacrosse, too. Nick, always appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome back to the show. We'll wrap it up with odds and ends in 10 minutes. Some baseball to get to there. It's like a Chargers-Broncos game this weekend in Denver. Cost Bud Black his job. Sam Yarnell are the NHL's top seeds at risk of going home. Our focus as we discuss some hockey here. Capitals and Hurricanes. I actually spent... See, you want to say... I should be proud of you for watching the Knicks and the Celtics. You should be proud of me. I spent a lot of time watching Capitals Hurricanes on Saturday. Watching those two teams. Even though it was a scoreless game midway through the second period.
I was going to say, you choose to watch hockey, you choose the worst game of the weekend to watch. How ironic.
Listen, it doesn't bother me. I know people think I'm not a huge hockey fan. Once I get it on, I'm fine. It's just turning on. It's like, I'll give you a perfect example. This is so far afield.
Oh, no.
I know. But it's like on Saturday morning, my husband comes into the bedroom. He goes, "Hey, you want to go for a hike on Saturday morning?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to go for a hike. It's already 90 degrees in Las Vegas. I don't want to go for a hike. I don't want to do that. There's gonna be sports on today. I just want to rest. It's Saturday." Once he gets me out of the house for the hike, I love the hike. I have a great time on the hike. But it's getting me out of the house for the hike. That's the hard part, getting me onto the trail. It's the same thing with hockey. It's like, no, I don't really want to watch hockey. But once you get me into the game, I'm fine and I won't turn it off. That's how I am.
Wow. Couple directions I can take this. But let's go the fun one. So a hike in Las Vegas. Couple of reasons I wouldn't do that. One,
Scorpions?
I don't want to get eaten by a plethora of things that live in the mountains outside of Las Vegas. Two, have you ever seen the movie The Hangover? Nothing good happens out there, man.
Oh,
why would you ever want to go out there? Especially when you can watch the greatest goal scorer of all time just do cardio for a couple of hours. I mean, wow, what a bad game for the Washington Capitals. And, just as quickly
Give
as
the Hurricanes some credit, though, here, Sam. I mean, the Canes are playing great in this series.
100%. And I mean, have you seen the way that Andrei Svechnikov has been playing? The guy looks like it's the Caps Hurricane series from, oh gosh, I might get the year wrong. I want to say 2018 when Alex Ovechkin knocked him clean out. I mean, the kid is playing with a new fire under his skates, and I love to see it. It's good for hockey. And, speaking of good for hockey, I'll do this again. Tom Wilson, another example in Game 3 of why he's good for hockey. That guy is everywhere at all times, flying to the puck, hair on fire. So it's been a lot of fun to watch him and watch Svechnikov. Frederik Andersen in this game. We cannot kid ourselves, left, right, or center. Frederik Andersen was saving everything, standing on his head, standing on everything.
That second goal, though, let's be honest. That second goal,
Frederick Anderson, goalie for the Carolina Hurricanes.
I'm saying the Logan Thompson, the second goal Logan Thompson gave up was a bad goal in the second period of that game. It's 1-0 in the second period. That second goal he gave up is a soft goal, short side. That's a bad goal he gave up there.
I mean, I'm not a hockey analyst, but from what
I'm enough of one. I'm enough of one. I've been around hockey long enough. That's a bad second goal he gave up in that game. When your team's down 1-0 and can't get anything going offensively, you can't give up that second goal. That's a bad second goal he gave.
Well, the alternative, right, is that he sells out to the guy coming down the wing, and then there's literally a guy right in front of the paint who there'd be a pass off and he'd have an empty net. So you can't leave the guy right in front with an empty net. That's even more of an automatic goal than putting it high glove side.
I'm just saying it was a good game.
Regardless, Frederick Anderson was the star in this game. And, you know, anything that the Capitals seemed to put together offensively, not saying there was a lot, he was right there to stop. But again, Jason, I can't believe that you turned on hockey for the first time this weekend and you watched the worst game of the weekend.
Yeah. Caps are in some trouble, though. I mean, make no mistake about it right now. It's going to be, and again, that's another one, much like that Thunder Nuggets series. They're going to get taken out into the deep water there, as are the Jets, because the Stars, look, Dennis Bernstein, I'll keep pointing back to what he said. He thought if the Stars got through that opening round series, they were a threat to go all the way. And you're continuing to see why right now, with the Stars beating the Jets in Game 3 of that series to take a 2-1 series lead, Sam, and Dallas is gonna make things really difficult for this Winnipeg team.
Yeah, and what I think, Jason, has been so promising about Dallas, especially recently, is not only the play of Mikko Rantanen that we've talked about on this show for a week now, but in yesterday's game, they really seemed to come together around him more than they ever had. It seemed to be, you know, not just, and actually, I'll take that back to Game 2 as well. They played really well around him, but yesterday specifically, it was not just give the puck to Mikko and see what he can do, although he was the best player for their team. They actually got help around him, and I think that was huge for the Stars when we talk about them as cup contenders.
Yeah. It certainly is. So that series at 2-1 now with Dallas on top in that series. And, hey, hats off to the Golden Knights. You know, they got down 2-0 in that opening round series, Sam. And give some credit to the Golden Knights real quick here. Down 2-0 after losing the first two games at home. They go on the road, beat a tough Edmonton team 4-3 on the road. So that series now 2-1, and I don't know, maybe the series begins when the home team actually wins a game in that series. That's all I got. We're out of time. We got to go. Odds and ends are next. Baseball. We'll talk about it there. Welcome back to the show. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday. A couple of reminders before we go. If you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the SportsWrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show. While you're driving to work, while you're on the treadmill, while you're in bed, whatever you do, you can listen to the show. You can watch us obviously on television, across 220 affiliates, across Canada, all over the U.S. But you can also watch us on our Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Go and subscribe over on YouTube right now. Without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. Oh, look, we got a special guest for odds and ends. It is not Sam Yarnell. It's Nick Ferguson, ladies and gentlemen. Sam had to go, so Nick decided to hang out with us for odds and ends. Odds and ends, and it's the end for Bud Black. And you know what? Mercifully so. Because, I mean, talk about a thankless job. I mean, there was no chance to succeed in Colorado or at the Rockies, the way that organization has been put together, Nick. And again, as somebody who's in Denver, with KOA Radio in Denver, as a former Denver Bronco, and as somebody who's been around that city for a long time the way you have, and has seen that Colorado Rockies organization basically from its inception to where it is now, and I'm familiar with the organization. It is one of the most inept franchises in all of sports. They lose 21-0 on Saturday to the San Diego Padres. They do win on Sunday, and then they fire the manager, Bud Black, because, hey, they're the Rockies. They replace him with interim manager Warren Schaefer. Our good friend Clint Hurdle, by the way, will be the interim bench coach for the Rockies. So congratulations to Clint Hurdle for winding up back on the bench in Colorado with the Rockies. But can anything fix this organization, Nick?
Oh, yes, it can. And It starts with management. I mean, listen, Dick Monfort said something that I thought was quite hilarious. And he said, and I quote, let me paraphrase this. That he said that their fans deserve more than this, and they're more than capable. And based on what happened over the past 2 seasons, he felt as though this season was going to be much better. But it all starts and ends with the person who said that the fans deserve better, and the team, they're capable of more. I mean, you're in charge. You put this thing together, right? Look at your scouting department. What are they doing? How they're scouting? And you're telling me, well, we've seen other teams come from bottom dwellers and kind of leapfrog this Rockies team. Think about the Arizona Diamondbacks, for one. I mean, they were one of the worst teams along with the Rockies, but guess what? I mean, they've been in the playoffs, and if I'm not mistaken, they won a pennant. So what does that say about your organization? And then you look at the Dodgers, right? The Dodgers have one of the better farming systems in the league. And oh, by the way, when you look at average age of the Dodgers, they're like 28 years old. 28. So what direction are you going from an organization standpoint? But here's what the Monforts love. They have one of the better ballparks in the Major League Baseball. Everyone loves going to Coors Field. They love standing on the deck and drinking beers. And as long as fans continue to attend games, JP, they have no reason to change.
The dichotomy is bizarre to me, and here it is. They draw well. The organization spends money. This isn't the Oakland A's spending, $20 million on payroll. This isn't the Tampa Bay Rays spending, $30 million on payroll. This isn't an organization that does it on the cheap. They just spend poorly. And as you mentioned, there's no impetus for changing the way they do things because fans showed up. The day after they lost 21-0, Nick Ferguson, they had 34,000 people in the ballpark. That's, to me, and I say this all the time, the best friend of bad ownership and bad management is an uneducated fan. And a fan that will keep going back for more. Hey, you just slapped me in the face? Hey, come back, I want some more. Hey, you just punched me in the nuts? Hey, come back, I'll take some more of that. That's what fans do when you come back the day after a team loses 21-0. The way to get the attention of ownership is don't show up. And they keep showing up.
JP, is hard for diehard baseball fans.
There's nothing to do in Denver? Really?
Well, there's something to do in Denver, but this is the baseball season. This is the baseball time of year, the boys of summer. Because think about it. Like the Rockies didn't come to Colorado until 1993. Before they did, a lot of fans were watching the Cubs, and they were watching the Cards, and they also were watching the Braves, right? Because of WGN and TBS. So they love their baseball. Right? So they can't get out of that mindset because I watched baseball with my grandfather and my dad. So I love the game. And fans go to the games to see other teams. When the Yankees come here on May 23rd, I'm going to be there. Not because of the Rockies.
Wish I was.
I'm going to be there because of the freaking Yankees. So that's what it's turned into. And the Monforts will say, you know what? We don't care. You're going to show up for that, and we're going to continue to take your ticket, punch it, and put that money in our pocket.
Yeah, and you're going to get to go see, Shohei Ohtani play there X number of times a year, so fans are going to show up and see that. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. Nick Ferguson, it's fun having you on the show today. Little bonus action as well. I always appreciate it, my friend. KOA Radio in Denver, Nick Ferguson, the former Broncos safety. Thank you, my friend. Wraps it up for us. Thanks to Sam Yarnell. Thanks to you for watching. That does it for Sports Wrap. We'll see you back here on Tuesday. NBA playoff recap, NHL 2. We'll see you then.